Hi everyone, good evening. And am I audible, ma'am and sir?
Yes.
Perfect.
Hi Dipanshu, I also joined in. Good evening, all.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for joining in. And good evening, everyone. I welcome you all to the webinar series Journey to Safety by Indian Road Safety Campaign. This is the webinar 8, thematized on expediting emergency care response in India, which is one of the most important issues that we need to solve as of now, because as we all know, crash if we provide them with a better emergency care response and timely emergency care response. So for the topic today, we have two most important people from this domain who we can talk. And Mr. K. Kapila, who is Chairman and Managing Director ICT and President Emeritus IRF Geneva. And we welcome you, sir. And we have Dr. Sushma Sagar, who is Professor and Senior Surgeon AIMS from Center. And she's also a Board of Advisory member at Indian Road Safety Campaign, very supportive to us throughout our journey. And then we have our all-time favorite, our moderator with us, Mr. Giri Kumar Kumaresh. He's
Hi,
just
all.
Bosch, and he's also a board advisory member at IRSC, and he's the one who has been moderating and hosting all the webinar session for this series. So it's been 2 months. Today we completed 2 months of this webinar series, and we are very thankful to each and everyone who has helped us to make this webinar series a great success. And people, those who have joined in on a Sunday evening, every time we have been able to get people from UN, we have been able to get people from automobile sector, we have been able to get people from bureaucracy. So we are very grateful to each and every person who has taken out time for this webinar series. And I would just before I hand over to Giri sir, I would just request all the speakers if we can use both languages, English and Hindi, if you're comfortable with. Some of the speakers come from a majority of speakers are from Uttar Pradesh who are very comfortable in Hindi, and if we can in between we can use Hindi as well, so that will be really comfortable for all the audiences. And the primary language is going to be English only, definitely. And we have lots of questions lined up for the speaker, which Giri sir would be taking up. So without any further delay, I'd like to hand over to Giri sir. Over to you. Thank you so much, everyone, and thanks a lot, sir and ma'am, for joining us.
So thank you very much. Good evening, all, for joining this webinar series number 8. And also thank you very much for staying tuned in with me. And today I have two extremely privileged panelists, Dr. Kapila sir and also Sushma ma'am. And I welcome you wholeheartedly for joining us and giving you a valuable time for this webinar series. So before I start, I would like to give a short introduction about how this webinar already started. Many of this of the participants who joined this webinar has been with our journey, the journey to safety, since 8 weeks and 8 Sundays. And it is also really good to see so many enthusiasts still continuing, and the number keep rising every week on week. So this is really great to see all of us. So we all started 2.5, 3 months back when Dipanshu, Amar, and we were just discussing about what we can do to create a knowledge or an archival for road safety. We do not have any books specific to Indian road safety, and we do not have anything, any write-ups. All we have is Ministry of Road Transport reports, what is being submitted, and all we have is some of the research papers was experts would do. So an idea and a thought process went in, why can't we bring in all experts on board every week and create a good archival so that it will be a reference for all the people who are students, who are practitioners, who are corporates, who are doctors. All these people might be helpful with this. And with this, we already have 7 series episodes. It's already live in YouTube, each consisting of more than 1 hour, 30 minutes of content, and it's a valuable content directly coming off the eminent personalities like Piyush Tiwari for Good Samaritan Law, Manikar sir for homologation, and we had Rashmi Uradvashi from ARI director. We had international expertise coming from World Economic Forum and also from the FIA Foundation, Dr. Eva Molanar, and there are, in fact, Ivy Rao sir explained about how exactly an Indian OEM works with all road safety and other stuff. So with this, I think we have created a good amount of content and also archival with this. And this is all possible only because of you participants and also with all the eminent personalities who are with us today to take forward this journey to safety onwards. So without ado, we will kickstart this meeting. So what we can do is we will just have a quick introduction with our speakers today. And we'll start with Kapila sir, and then we go with Sushma ma'am, and each speaker can just give us a short update or even an expertise of their chosen field and share with us, and followed by which we'll go with a short panel discussion for about 20 minutes or so, and then we'll take up all the question answers which is coming up from our participants for the day. So with this, I would like to welcome Mr. KK Kapila, who is the President Emeritus International Road Federation, former member of FIDC Executive Committee. Kiran K. Kapila is a chartered civil engineer, fellow American Society well-accomplished person. Besides leading renowned infrastructure consultancy organization, he is employing around 1,500 professionals. He is also board of member for FIDIC, a global association for consulting engineering association till September 2017. KK Kapila sir was the first non-European chairman for International Road Federation. This we have to clearly note, an Indian becoming an European Federation, International Road Federation as a director is really a great achievement. And he has a vast amount of experience spanning from India to international organization. And he has close to 9 years of his leadership as a president in IRF. And he has done a lot of activities because I've seen Kapila sir. And in this stage, I would also like to share my very first direct out of the college panel discussion and a speech was chaired by Mr. KK Kapila sir in 2011 in IRTE along with Rohit Baloja. It's also my privilege to host this session from my side as you as a guest, sir. So I'm really privileged for this. Thank you very much for joining us. Coming to a little bit on the activities, what he has done, like he has done a lot of activities specifically for vulnerable road users like bicyclists, creating train capacities, first responders, providing hospital trauma care assistance for accident victims. And he has also written a lot of chapters for the school textbooks, which is very, very important. And he also worked on intelligent transport systems. I think you name it, Kapila sir worked in all the things. So with this, Kapila sir has received a number of national and international awards for his entrepreneurial acumen, as well as promoting road safety across the world. He has authored a number of papers published in various journals and newspapers and repute in India for road safety and related matters. Mr. KK Kapila sir is extensively consulted across all the spectrum, starting from OE, from corporate, from various other segments, for his knowledge and expertise to guide India to reduce accidents, to make a journey of our Indians more and much, much safer going forward. Thank you very much and welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Girish, for this long and interesting introduction, for your kind word. My co-panelist, Sushma ji.
Hello.
Yeah, I will just take a minute. Kapila sir, I'll just take a minute to introduce Sushma ma'am also, and then probably we will start with your thing. Is that fine?
Fine, fine.
Okay. So the very next speaker is Dr. Sushma Sagar, and well-known doctor with us today. So anything related to trauma care, injury, Sushma ma'am is the right to go. I have been told with Amar, also Deepanshu, that Sushma ma'am is very supportive, specifically in the third wing of emergency and post-care and trauma. Dr. Sushma is a trauma surgeon currently working as an additional professor in trauma surgery in JPN Apex Trauma Center, AIIMS, which is very well-known medical center. She has completed her graduation of MBBS and post-graduation in general surgery from King's George Medical College, Lucknow, and SN Medical College, Agra, respectively. Dr. Sagar is a fellow American College for Surgeons as an active member of American Association of Women Surgeons. She is a trained burn and reconstructive surgeon with a special interest in trauma reconstruction. She has recorded the Limca Book of Records for the surgery. Wow, what a kind of person we have. The person who has created a record for a surgery. And she is a teaching faculty for National Institute of Disaster Management in India. Thank you very much for your Sunday evening, ma'am. Welcome you for this webinar series. We are looking forward for your words of wisdom of journey to road safety for all the participants. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
So now with this, what we'll do is we will just start with a short knowledge sharing from each of the fellow panelists. So I would like to start directly with Dr. Kapila sir, and all the panelists mics and the videos will be always on. You can raise any point at any point of time, and you can also give your inputs at any point of time. So we will take up the questions of all the participants by flag and at around 5 o'clock. And from there on 30 minutes, we will discuss about all the question answers. So now I would like to hand over the stage to Dr. Kapila sir, all yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, friends, trauma care is a very important aspect post-accident and need to be improved in the country. We have over the year built quite an infrastructure in trauma care, but it is still deficient, not adequate at all. What all can we do is the question hereafter. Can we not reduce the loads which need to go to the trauma centers? Should we not address the issue immediately after the accident? Those are very pertinent questions. I personally very strongly believe that we need to address it, as everyone agrees that it has to be addressed in the golden hour. Then the question is, how do we address it in the golden hour? The obvious answer is that we need to train the bystanders on Indian roads. If we want to address this problem, we need a trained and educated, a forthcoming group of people who are willing to help an accident victim. Each of the families in India have lost someone near and dear one sometime in a road accident. And that is something which we need to encash the sentiments of the people, train them adequately, and motivate them to attend to the accident victim. We need to sensitize and educate the bystanders on Indian roads. The bystanders training program has already been finalized by a combination of group of doctors working on it with the help of WHO, Ministry of Health, the AIIMS Trauma Center, and Dr. Manish, Sushmaji's colleague, has been doing a pioneer work in that particular document preparation. That was released last year by the Honorable Minister of Health. And this is now a Bible available to all of us. What all to do in a curriculum for the trauma care bystanders training program is well documented and needs to be followed across the country. We have unfortunately been following up with different programs, different people wanting to help, have been training in their own way. We need to make it a uniform training program if we really want to succeed in our efforts. There are many people who have been coming forward and saying that we are training so many people, so many bystanders. Now we need to have, the trainers must be qualified trainers. There must be a protocol to decide that here is a person who can train, there should be an accreditation for those trainers. To my mind, that is extremely important. Then the question will come, how do we get the requisite manpower to train? If we have to train all the bystanders on various roads, what all do we do? So I have a very strong feeling that we need to utilize the workforce from paramedical training programs. You see, they need to be given specialized training. They are trained for 1 year, and in that curriculum, we need to add at least a 15 days program for training the bystanders. Similarly, in the medical colleges, when you come out and do your house job, there should be a program earmarked in the house job to provide the trauma care training. They should be trained and thereafter sent to the field for a fortnight each to train the bystanders in a well-organized program which will help the bystander training in an excellent manner. Similarly, we need to have the NCC cadets who can be trained in this exercise. Because we are such a vast nation, we need a very large population of trainers. Otherwise, this program will not be successful. To my friends from IIT, I would request you to prepare a program, prepare a well-documented document indicating various medical facilities in various states, so that when we are training the bystanders, we can also give them the information which are the medical facilities near there where they can take the patients. So we need a very well documented medical facilities document that here are the medical facilities existing in this country. Then we need to also train the heavy motor vehicle drivers. See, wherever an accident takes place, a truck or bus is likely to pass. जहां भी कहीं एक्सीडेंट होगा, वहां से कोई ना कोई बस या ट्रक जरूर गुजरेगी. और अगर वो ड्राइवर ट्रेन्ड ड्राइवर है, तो वो रुककर उस एक्सीडेंट विक्टिम की जान बचा सकेगा और उसको ट्रांसपोर्ट कर सकेगा टू द नियरेस्ट मेडिकल फैसिलिटी. उतना ही नहीं, he will also be a more sensitive driver. He will not like to be a cause of accident. वो खुद एक्सीडेंट का कारण नहीं बनना चाहेगा. तो आपका डुअल ऑब्जेक्टिव सर्व होगा. एक, आपने एक्सीडेंट जो को बचाया, एक्सीडेंट नहीं होगा, कम होंगे. और दूसरा, जो हुए एक्सीडेंट हैं, उन विक्टिम्स को फर्स्ट एड अर्जेंटली मिल जाए. और इसके लिए कोई बहुत लंबा चौड़ा काम नहीं करना है. हमें उनके मोटर व्हीकल एक्ट में एक रूल ऐड करना है, लाइसेंसिंग में एक रूल ऐड करना है कि अगर आपको HMV लाइसेंस लेना है तो आपको ये ट्रेनिंग करनी ही पड़ेगी. दिस इज कंपल्सरी ट्रेनिंग. इसके ऊपर ऑलरेडी काम हो रहा है. मुझे उम्मीद है ये लेजिस्लेशन जल्दी ही आ जाएगा. तो ये छोटी छोटी चीजें हैं जो अगर हम टाइमली एड्रेस करेंगे तो इससे बहुत फायदा होगा. Another important aspect is how do we improve the hospital training, hospital trauma care infrastructure and trained manpower. See, we have to have some provision of minimum standards. Minimum standards provide करना जरूरी है. With a dedicated trauma emergency within the same emergency department manned by trained and dedicated trauma surgeons and nurses. Then government should enforce opening of separate departments of trauma and acute medical colleges, acute care surgery as existing at AIIMS, Delhi and Rishikesh. We need to replicate this arrangement in other medical institutions as well. And then we need a short and long-term training of hospital nurses and paramedic staff in emergency trauma management. So if we take these steps, we will be able to improve our hospital trauma care infrastructure, and it will help the profession and help the accident victims when they are taken to the hospitals to get early treatment. We need to have a provision of a nodal agency for trauma care. Agency will formulate guidelines for processes of care with a systems approach that would include the pre-hospital, in-hospital emergency care, in-hospital definitive care, and post-hospital care. This agency will monitor and do functional audits of the pre-hospital ambulance services and emergency departments of tertiary care hospitals, providing 24/7 trauma care. They'll play a role in the accreditation of different levels of trauma care facilities, level 1, level 2, and level 3. So these are some of the things which we need to take up on priority with the government. We are already at it, and I'm confident that we will have these arrangements in place in the coming days. This is in short what I would like to mention at this moment, and we will move on with the questions hereafter. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kapila sir. So you are given a very good insight of what has to be done for India, and also the central nodal agency and what student has to be done. I think you touched upon all the important aspects of the suggestions, what you would like to give it to the community as of now. So thank you very much. Stay tuned. We'll get back to you with a couple of more questions. Now I'll just move on to Dr. Sushma. Can you just please give us a short insight about your expertise of expediting trauma care in India? Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Giri, and it is nice and pleasure to hear Mr. Kapila also, and we have been working together for quite a long time with him. I welcome all the registrant participants on this Sunday evening and who all are interested to know about the emergency care in India. This is a very crucial and important topic, and we all must understand that today in a time when we are fighting with the pandemic corona, so similarly this emergency care services, the road traffic injuries which are occurring at an epidemic level in not only in the country but at the global level, is a very much cause of concern. And we all must understand that like in corona, we want that everybody should be a warrior. Until unless everybody is following the mask hygiene, everybody is following the hand hygiene, will not be able to fight this pandemic. Similarly, for the emergency care management, if everybody of us is not following the road traffic rules, if everybody of us is not addressing to the road behavior, not following the laws, not getting the laws enforced by the department, then will not be able to bring down the number of deaths which are occurring because of the road traffic crashes. And people these days are worrying that we are losing more people in road traffic injuries which we are losing in a pandemic. So talking about this emergency care in India during this COVID pandemic takes very much of relevance, and that's why you all must realize, आप सभी लोगों ने देखा होगा कि केवल इंडिया में ही नहीं बल्कि पूरे विश्व में जितने भी ट्रॉमा सेंटर्स हैं उनको कोविड अस्पतालों में बनाया गया. And the reason behind this is that all the trauma places or all the trauma centers are geared up 24/7 to fight with all kind of diseases and injuries. उसी तरह से हमें भी जो है कोरोना की फाइट के लिए जैसे हमें 24 घंटे तैयार रह के और इस पैंडेमिक से हम लोग सारे लोग हेल्थ केयर वर्कर्स, हमारे ट्रैफिक पुलिसमैन, हमारी नर्सेज, हमारे इवन आप देखिए कि हमारे फ्लाइट ऑपरेटर्स जो कि फ्लाइट्स लेके विदेशों में जा रहे हैं, आ रहे हैं, हमारे सफाई कर्मचारी, सो एवरीबडी हैज बिकम अ वॉरियर। और सभी लोगों के मिलने से, सभी लोगों के जुड़ने से ही हम इस जो है पैंडेमिक पर काबू पा सकते हैं। तो उसी तरह से इमरजेंसी केयर में भी हमें सभी को मिलके जुल के साथ में आना है। और हमारे इंडिया की सबसे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम क्या है कि हम लोग जो हैं वी आर लिविंग इन टू वर्ल्ड्स एट द सेम टाइम। ऑन वन हैंड वी हैव लोकल, आप देखिएगी कि तांगे बैलगाड़ी हमारे रोड्स पे चल रही हैं, ऑन द साइड बाय साइड यू विल फाइंड अ मर्सिडीज और एन ऑडी कार रनिंग। So we have a very high speed vehicles and very low speed vehicle running together on the same roads. So we have a different kind of a scenario. मतलब हम अपनी विदेशों से बात नहीं कर सकते हैं, हमारी जो परिस्थितियां हैं वो बिल्कुल डिफरेंट हैं। हमारे देश में अगर एक व्यक्ति की डेथ होती है रोड ट्रैफिक इंजरी से, तो उसके पीछे करीब 70 लोग हैं जो कि इंजर्ड होते हैं। सो इतनी ज्यादा ग्रेविटी है, और इन सब का सिर्फ एक ही इलाज है। और जो सबसे बड़ा गैप, मतलब हम लोग जब गैप्स की बात करते हैं कि हमारे इमरजेंसी केयर में गैप्स क्या है, तो जो सबसे बड़ा गैप है वो हमारी अवेयरनेस का है और हमारी विलिंगनेस टू पार्टिसिपेट। जब तक हम सारे लोग विलिंग होकर इसमें पार्टिसिपेट करके इसमें भागीदारी नहीं अपनाएंगे, we will not be able to bring down the number of deaths occurring in the road traffic crashes. See, trauma centers बनाना, हॉस्पिटल बनाने से सिर्फ उसका एक पहलू है which we are going to answer, बट जो ओवरऑल आंसर है, क्योंकि मरीज तो अस्पताल तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाता है। पेशेंट तो तब ठीक होगा ना जबकि वो अस्पताल पहुंच पाएगा, परंतु वो सही तरीके से नजदीकी अस्पताल में ही नहीं पहुंच पा रहा है। एंड हु ऑल आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दैट? वी ऑल आर रिस्पॉन्सिबल। फर्स्ट इज दैट वी आर डूइंग ड्रंकन ड्राइविंग, सेकेंड इज वी आर नॉट वेयरिंग द हेलमेट, third is we are not applying the seat belt, and fourth is we are, if we find anybody lying on the roads because of injuries, we are not willing to take that person to the hospital, क्योंकि हमें बहुत सारे डर हैं। हमें डर है पुलिस वाला क्या कहेगा, हमें डर है अस्पताल वाला हमारे बारे में पूछेगा, अस्पताल वाला हमें वहां पे बिठा लेगा। डिस्पाइट ऑफ द फैक्ट कि हम सब लोगों को पता है कि देयर इज अ गुड समैरिटन लॉ, और गुड समैरिटन लॉ ये कहता है कि अगर आप किसी चोट लगे व्यक्ति को अस्पताल पहुंचाएंगे तो ना केवल दिल्ली जैसे शहर में आपको उसके लिए इनाम दिया जाता है, बल्कि आपसे कोई पूछताछ नहीं की जाएगी। द पुलिस और द हॉस्पिटल इज नॉट गोइंग टू आस्क एनीथिंग, rather you will be given a thank note that you have brought the person to the hospital. तो जब तक हम सारे लोग गुड समैरिटन नहीं बनेंगे, जब तक हम रोड ट्रैफिक के रूल्स का पालन नहीं करेंगे, तब तक हमारे लिए इन गैप्स को फिल करना बहुत मुश्किल होगा। गैप्स हमारे देश में बहुत जगहों पे हैं। हमारे यहाँ पर अभी भी प्री हॉस्पिटल सर्विसेज नहीं है। प्री हॉस्पिटल सर्विस का मतलब है कि विदेशों में क्या होता है कि जब भी कहीं पे कोई एक्सीडेंट होता है तो एक सेंट्रलाइज्ड एम्बुलेंस सिस्टम होता है, और एक एम्बुलेंस जो है तुरंत जो नजदीकी जगह पे खड़ी होती है वो उस व्यक्ति को अस्पताल लेके आती है, नियरेस्ट अस्पताल में। एंड द पर्सन हु इज मैनिंग दैट एम्बुलेंस इज आल्सो अ ट्रेन्ड पैरामेडिक। वो पैरामेडिक जो है वो ट्रेंड होता है, उसको पता है कि मुझे रास्ते में उसको क्या ऑक्सीजन देनी है, क्या उसको आईवी लाइन लगानी है, और इमरजेंसी में अगर उसके खून बह रहा है तो उसको पट्टी बांधनी है। तो वो ट्रेन पैरामेडिक उस एम्बुलेंस के द्वारा मरीज को निकट के अस्पताल में लेके आता है। दैट इज नोन एज अ प्री हॉस्पिटल केयर सर्विस विच इज वेरी मच लैकिंग इन आवर कंट्री। जब हम हॉस्पिटल की बात करते हैं तो हमारे पास डेडिकेटेड ट्रॉमा सर्विसेज के लिए अस्पताल नहीं है। उसका मतलब ये नहीं है दैट वी नीड टू बिल्ड लॉट ऑफ ट्रॉमा सेंटर्स ऑल ओवर द कंट्री। उसका सिर्फ ये जरूरत है कि जहां पे भी हमारी इमरजेंसीज हैं वहां पर कोई ना कोई व्यक्ति ऐसे हों जो कि इस तरह की ट्रॉमा के केसेस को हैंडल करने में उनकी कोई ना कोई ट्रेनिंग हो चुकी हो। उसके अलावा हमारे डेडिकेटेड इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर होने चाहिए। हमारे एक है कि अगर इस तरह के व्यक्ति अस्पताल में आ जाते हैं चोट लग के, तो उसको मैनेजमेंट का एक ट्रॉमा का एक प्रोटोकॉल होता है। तो वी शुड हैव स्पेशलिस्ट हु आर ट्रेन्ड इन मैनेजिंग सच पेशेंट। और उसके बाद बात आती है उनके रिहैबिलिटेशन की, उनकी रिकवरी की, और उनको किस तरह से डिस्चार्ज किया जाए। कई बार जो सिर की चोट लगे व्यक्ति होते हैं वो बहुत समय तक कोमा में रहते हैं, बहुत समय तक जो है वो रिकवर नहीं कर पाते। We need to have rehabilitation services and rehabilitation center for those type of people which are also very much lacking still in our country, because अगर हमारी trauma services improve होंगी तो उसके साथ साथ आने वाले दिनों में we would be requiring such kind of rehabilitation centers.
Okay.
तो इस तरह की चीजों की हमारे को, ये हमारे जो क्रिटिकल केयर के गैप्स हैं। जहां तक सरकार के ऊपर की बात आती है तो गवर्नमेंट इज डूइंग इट्स लेवल बेस्ट एंड गवर्नमेंट इज ट्राइंग टू बिल्ड अप। जैसे हम सब ने देखा कि नेशनल हाईवे प्लान में हर 500 किलोमीटर पर एक ट्रॉमा केयर सेंटर बनाया गया है, हर एम्बुलेंसेस को उनसे लिंक अप किया गया है। हमने ये देखा है कि जैसे हमारा एम्स में एक मॉडल ट्रॉमा सेंटर बनाया गया, उस तरह के मॉडल ट्रॉमा सेंटर देश में और जगहों पे बनाने की सरकार के जो है 5 ईयर प्लान्स के अंतर्गत में आया है। मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ रोड ट्रैफिक ट्रांसपोर्ट जो है वो काफी सारी एनजीओज के साथ मिलकर इस बारे में अवेयरनेस प्रोग्राम भी करते हैं और इस तरह की कर रहे हैं। हमारे खुद ये IRSC के लोग, इंडियन रोड सेफ्टी कैंपेन वाले लोग, हर 6 महीने में, हर 3 महीने में बड़ी तरह के प्रोग्राम कर करके लोगों में अवेयरनेस लाके, और हमारी मिनिस्ट्री को भी इस चीज के लिए बाध्य करते हैं कि वो इस तरह के ट्रेनिंग प्रोग्राम्स को और ट्रॉमा के प्रोग्राम्स को आगे बढ़ाएं और आगे लेके चलें। तो कहने का मतलब यही है कि हम लोगों को, सारे लोगों को मिलके, ईच एंड एवरी पर्सन हैज टू बी लाइक अ कोरोना वॉरियर फॉर द इंजरी वॉरियर, तभी हम जो है इस समस्या से निजात पा सकते हैं। थैंक यू।
So thank you, Dr. Sushma, for your valuable insights on this, and also talking in both the languages. I got messages from Indonesia and other countries that they are not able to understand, but yeah, that's fine. But we will try to stick into the English, and then wherever possible, we can give you translation.
Right.
So your insights on the trauma care and also the existing system, where it is, how it is, it's really a valuable thing, because you are the person on the field and you are the warrior who's been fighting this epidemic of accidents. Right now it's a pandemic of corona warriors, and you know in and out how system works and how what is the problem in the ecosystem altogether. So with this, I would like to take both the panelists for a short panel discussion. So as we all discussed in the couple of previous meetings and also on the previous webinars, we were mainly focusing on reducing accidents. That's the whole aim of all our efforts, what we are trying to do in the last decade or even 2 decades back. So Global Decade of Action has given a clear directive principles of 5 pillars. So out of which the main pillar is on the emergency and post-care trauma center, which is the last pillar of any segment. I would rather say that is the most important pillar, which is very much, what do we say, not too much focused, not too much in focus. So my question to the panelists here is like, so as we see the post-care and trauma center in India, there are 150,000 fatalities, and every participants know this. And this is the reported accidents and reported number of fatalities. And we have close to around 300,000 injuries. Again, we are not able to classify whether it's a serious injury or a minor injury, and there is no proper records. So all this is a little bit complicating. So I just wanted to ask you, where in our ecosystem is a break? Where is our ecosystem has to be corrected specifically? Because if you see the present accident investigation system, so currently if there is an accident, the only local police authority of that particular place or a district go to the spot. If the person is injured or seriously injured, immediately 108 ambulance or some nearest hospital will come and take them to the hospital, and there ends the police job. And he says, if he's alive on the spot, he says seriously injured. If he's fatal on the spot, he say fatal. That's it. And there ends the case. Now the problem with us is like we are not really able to track how exactly this injury and trauma care is really helping. And these data are not coming onto the record. So my question is, where we have to fix this? How can we handle this situation? Because once all the system is in place, then possibly we will have a exact process and step by step what is happening, and in a particular place or in a step, if things go wrong, we will be able to correct. Now each state follows different principles. Delhi follow different principles, Karnataka follow different principles. So we are not able to clearly get a unique idea. As KK Kapila sir clearly told that we need an ecosystem, and also proper amendment has to be done. My question is, what amendment with the existing ecosystem and how it has to be changed?
You see, we need to have what you call a trauma registry.
Yeah.
We need to build a trauma registry if we want to address this issue. And the trauma registry must have, will be able to stamp data capturing of all injured patients. This will have, this should initially be mandatory for all levels, first trauma care center funded, approved by the Ministry of Health, Government of India. Then this will need provision of trained and dedicated staff for this purpose and some funding for it. Training can be done at Apex institutions such as Apex Trauma Center, Delhi, where such a registry already exists. So a similar registry will have to be built at other places. The registry has to provide all data sets required for monitoring, not only the outcomes of these trauma centers, but also time-stamped data so that monitoring of patients' care processes and protocols can be done in order to improve quality of care at these government-funded centers. This is my take on the trauma care registry. This is what you need to build, and that will be able to capture what you really want to capture.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, very rightly said, Mr. Kapila, because registry is most important thing. Registry is like until unless you have the numbers. I mean, until unless you have how many people are coming to each hospital, with what kind of injuries they are coming. Right now, whenever we talk about the burden of injuries in our country, we always go to the NCRB, National Crime Record Bureau. We take all the records from there. Not every hospital, like we have a cancer registry system. Government has started wherein all the cancer patients are being registered, and that registry is being pulled down to understand the burden of cancer in our country. For the pregnant women also, the government has started a program wherein every pregnant woman is given a card, and each time she swipes that card, the data comes to the centralized pool, and you come to know that so many women are pregnant and so much amount of iron or folic acid they are requiring. So that kind of registry you require for trauma and for injuries also. But how can that happen? That can only happen when you have trained people. And secondly, you need to have a unit existing in every hospital. अभी क्या होता है, अस्पतालों में कोई चोट लग के मरीज जाता है तो वहाँ पे एक CMO होता है. CMO एक मेडिकल रिकॉर्ड बनाता है, एक MLC बनाता है, and then the patient is either primarily managed over there and then he is sent to any other big hospital. ज्यादातर केसेस में उसको दूसरे अस्पताल में भेज दिया जाता है. And many of the private hospitals, they do not want to entertain such kind of patients because they all pertain to compensation, medical legal implications. So they want to send them to the government hospital. So that's why, you need to have a nodal agency, whether it is National Disaster Management Authority or whether it is NIDM. So some kind of a nodal agency has to be required. Like when you have seen in Corona pandemic, it was the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, who took the onus on itself, and it is now recording every COVID test which is being done. Right. So that kind of registry and that kind of, I would say, auditing is required from a single agency. Then only it can.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for this.
Now, earlier, that's exactly what I said earlier, that you need to build a nodal agency for trauma care. So that nodal agency will only be able to manage it. It cannot be passed on to any existing agencies because they're already overloaded with whatever they are doing. And I don't think they would be in a position to manage this additionally.
Okay. Now the clear outcome is just coming out because you do not have a nodal agency as of now in the existing system, and we do not have a registry for accident. So 150,000 people are fatal. But I really wonder when people or a big people with a big ambition says, I'm going to reduce the fatalities by 50%. When they say 50% reduction of fatalities for the next 10 years, that means they're going to save 75,000 lives as on 2020. So this is a very big number. So my question, nodal agency, what is that steps, or who is the person who can do this? Should be in the hospital end, or should be on the police end, or should be a common people, or should be the government who will be able to form a small team to collect all these things?
This will be government, but primarily Ministry of Health has to take the lead and then set up this nodal agency. Ministry of Health can certainly contribute as the nodal agency, nodal ministry responsible for road safety in India. So the two ministries have to work closely to set up this organization.
Okay. IRSC, please note it down, the valuable insights that what next we can do in order to get an action bound out of this important meeting. We can take it to the Ministry of Health with all the supporters on this topic. Yeah.
Sure.
So my next, hello. Yeah. So my next thing is like, I've been doing accident investigation since almost like 10 years now in India, which we started off in Coimbatore, and now almost we are in 6 to 7 states where I physically investigated many accidents on the spot. Now the question is like, specifically one case which I was looking at in Mumbai-Pune Express Highway. There was the Express Highway accident, and we used to investigate, and the patient used to be taken to one particular specific hospital, or there will be two specific hospitals in a span of 170 to 180 kilometers, one in Mumbai and one in Lonavala or one in Pune. Now the point is, golden hour comes into picture here. So golden hour is very crucial for India. So many a times what happens is like people are left on the road whether if they are seriously injured. People do not know how to handle the victim, or they will be scared. As Dr. Sushma clearly said, people will become scared by seeing blood. Now the point is, this golden hour is very crucial. And what is the golden hour time for India? That's very specific question.
Time is only 1 hour, and it doesn't change whether it is India or any other place in the world.
Right.
That is why I have been talking of the bystanders training program. India will not be able to afford this ambulances all over the place.
Right.
As a developing world country, even countries abroad, even in the European world, also
Right.
it is impossible to get in remote places ambulance in time.
Right.
So to expect that to happen in India is not right thing to do. Our own solution has to be train the bystanders as a matter of emergency, take it fast, and as you train them, also make them aware about the law, Good Samaritan law, which Piyush has worked on, and we must bring that to the notice of everyone. Now, there is another problem in this. We have it through the Supreme Court. We don't have every state coming up with this law. Only Karnataka is one state which has got the Good Samaritan law as a law in the state, because it's a subject which is concurrent in the constitution. So it being a concurrent subject, you have to have the law of the various states which should talk of Good Samaritan. And not only talk, they should provide this Good Samaritan law and exhibit it in various places. This should be put on notice boards, put on the cinemas, put on Doordarshan. In the various languages we show Krishi program, let this be shown 3 times during that program, in that language, so that more people understand what the law is all about. We need to put it behind the buses. Instead of advertisements, please advertise road safety. Don't advertise, because the payment that the buses get out of those advertisements are very meager. So it is worth spending on road safety and saving from accidents, even of those own buses of the states, rather than that. So that's something which we need to do post haste if we want to really contain the accidents on the roads where you don't have hospital facilities. You're not going to get them. How can you ever get hospital facilities closer than 200 kilometers if you have 3 facilities? You cannot expect anywhere to get more than that. Just as you are explaining Pune-Bombay Expressway, now you have, that's about 200 kilometers, and you have a facility in Lonavala, you have one in Pune and another in Bombay.
Right.
So you will not get elsewhere also very many medical facilities in a distance of 200 kilometers. So what you need to do is, here, because of the expressway, we may not have on the roadside, but of course, bystanders around are always there. And that is what we need to train.
Clear, sir. Thank you. Thank you. So, Dr. Sushma, you have any take on golden hour?
Yeah, see, when we talk about golden hour, it is clearly 1 hour to 6 hours. But hum log in our country, what we say is that even if people can reach to a nearby hospital in 6 hours, 10 hours in a right position. See, most of the time, what happens is that if somebody is bleeding, so people are
Mhm.
not aware that how you have to handle that bleeding. So during these bystanders training program, we keep on telling them that if you are seeing that any blood is oozing out from anywhere, you simply have to apply a pressure bandage. If somebody is lying on the road, you have to transport him on a kind of a spine board wherein the neck or the movement of the spine is not disturbed. If anyone who is not breathing, then what you have to do to open his mouth or to let him breathe in the air. If somebody is having a broken leg, then you need to apply some splint, or supposedly if it is a leg, you just tie the legs together. If it is a hand, you just tie the hand to the rest of the body part so that no further movement occurs. If someone you are witnessing that someone is not taking breath, you can apply a chest compression test. So all
Mhm.
these things are being given in the bystander program. So the importance is that every school and colleges, the children and the student should be given these kind of trainings, because bystanders are the person who first witnesses any accident. So if
Mhm.
you have a combination of a bystander who has got some kind of training, and also a combination wherein you know understand the good Samaritan law, then both the things together can make a person reach to the nearby facility. And nearby facility can at least do the first aid to that person. They can at least apply an IV line, can give an oxygen, and can make the
Mhm.
person transportable to the proper facility wherein he can get a definitive treatment. So golden hour in our place can be an extended platinum hour. So that
Okay.
even a person, if can be reached to in the that platinum hour, his life can be saved. Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you. Perfect. You get an
I would
overview
like
of
to add,
golden hour.
Giri, I would like
Yes,
to
sir. Go
add
ahead, sir.
here, we have
Go ahead.
prepared a film of 3.5 minutes called Rihanna,
Okay.
in which Professor Amit of the AIMS has shown how a patient should be attended if there is an accident. And that clearly depicts all that Sushmaji just said, how to do this, how to
Mhm.
address if it is bleeding, how to give
Mhm.
support to the neck. You know,
Mm.
all these things are very well demonstrated. So if we can
Okay.
put this film in various social media, it would
Right.
help. It would help the cause immensely. Yeah, I will be
Definitely.
happy to share with you, and let your group do the social framework
Uh,
and
Awareness.
put it in social media.
Definitely, sir. End of this recording, we will add your 3.5 minutes video as well as an awareness video, and we'll archive it on
I
the
have at the
YouTube.
moment
Definitely.
that video with me, unfortunately. I will
IRSC
share
has
it with you.
also made a few videos on these kind of awareness.
Yes,
They
we
have,
have.
Exactly.
We have done a number of them. We have
yeah.
done a number.
Right. Right. Thank you. Thank you for this golden hour.
So
Thing.
Teams
So now,
Trauma Care has actually helped us to prepare that video module. Even Sushma ma'am only had helped us to prepare that video module, and we have been able to train almost 25,000 people till now. Most of majority of them being students, and then in institutions as well. Like if you talk about
Mhm.
IIT as well, we have been able to train housekeeping staff and faculties and students. So and even the online module that we have built, so we try to send it across to whoever joins us, and IRSC has mobilized more than 40,000 student volunteers up till now. So whoever
Super.
joins us, so we make sure that this is a part of onboarding document, so more and more people can join in. We are also partnering with these cabs aggregators and vehicle aggregators, so that whoever joins Ola, Uber, or any Rapido, or any bike service, any cab service, so that we make sure that they go through or they undergo that training. If not a physical training, then at least that video module they should go through. So this is something that we have been doing. So
So
thank you
that's
so much.
a good effort, but that is incomplete. My advice would be tell these people to undergo a 1 day or 2 days training program at one of the facilities to understand the things better. You see, what happens is that if you have just seen the video and attended, it is good that you're doing better than others. who have not seen anything.
Right.
But you may not be doing it correctly just by seeing the video. So it is, if you have really a desire to help, then please devote a day and learn more and then do it. So at least your own volunteers, I would strongly urge, should not depend only on the video, but learn it from the people who are really trained in this and then provide this help.
Sure,
Definitely.
sir. Sure, sir. Videos are never an alternative to the physical training, yes.
Videos can definitely motivate the other people to take over the overall training or the physical training on this. So
Right.
now I come to the next question. Majorly, many people are asking on how does a technology play in a role like this? Because one, bystanders is a clear answer, ambulances are a clear answer. Does a technology play a role? Do you feel that we do have an existing technology which can solve such kind of emergency and trauma care? And are there any initiatives which is in pipeline currently, or whether initiatives which is already implemented which we may not be aware of? And does the universal ambulance number work? Because universal ambulance number is not very well known in Indian context. So if you go to the Western countries, they just have three numbers and the 3-digit like 911 or 211 kind of a number where it has been widely accepted. So in India, like it goes to a control room and people do not know how exactly use this number, whether we have to call an emergency service or a police or an ambulance. So this becomes too complex thing. Now, there is a two-part in this question. Number one, does a technology play a role? If yes, what are the technologies which is assisting you to address this problem? If no, what technology which you wish that we can bring in to the country which can solve this problem?
Number of apps have been prepared, Giri, and
Yes,
I would only urge that we should try to make it a single app rather than 20 apps doing a similar work.
exactly.
So we need to see all the apps. In fact, each one of them should sit down with his app and demonstrate, and then we should decide on maybe 2 or 3 apps at the most, and then they can be used. The idea is that when you train these people, the bystanders, they should be able to inform the hospital in advance that an accident victim is coming to you, so that the facility can be ready to receive him. That would save some precious time. So that is the advantage of technology which can be used. And then he would also know as to where the exact facility closest to that place is, which I requested earlier should be plotted. So if all those are available, then you can take the person to the nearest facility and not to another place which is another 20 kilometers away, because that may be in the knowledge of the person and the closer one may not be in his knowledge. So technology has an important role to play, and we should try to use it, but use it more lucidly and more clearly. And it should be such that a common man on the roadside understands that technology. That is how that technology should be. It should be very self-supportive kind, and something which doesn't need any knowledge in depth of the IT. It should be a very easily manageable application.
Okay. I completely agree, sir. Completely agree. It has to be a universal application, and it has to be so simple that even a common man who is illiterate also should understand how to use this. Like, Absolutely. How do we use the common chat centers like WhatsApp or Facebook? How do we use it? It has to be so robust so that it should not have too much of complications to use it, and needs a training. So that's very important, and I totally agree with you, sir. Dr. Sushma, do you have any take on it?
Yeah, definitely. Before this pandemic, we had this notion that our country is not digitally capable and we fail behind in the technology. But now you find that even the government school students are getting their classes online through their WhatsApp. All their lessons are being given to them. Everybody is now getting their tutorials online. So it is, we need to understand our potential. 5 years back, we never could imagine that by a click of a button, a taxi would come in front of my door and I can ride an Ola or Uber like that. So everything is happening now. So, and you can see the popularity of Arogya Setu. Arogya Setu, everybody is getting enrolled on that, and you can get all kind of information about the coronavirus and the hospitals and all those things. You have a tracker facility where you can track the number of cases occurring every day. So similar kind of an app, a centralized, a single app is required wherein people can enroll their current like data on that, and similarly that can be correlated with the hospital. Like Mr. Kapila very rightly said that in the hospital, we suddenly get a bombardment of the patient. We never get
Right.
any information that a patient is about to come, whether it is a single patient or a 10 patient. So some kind of a Suchna app. So two kind of apps we require wherein a person can get an information that where he has to go at the time of the need. And secondly, the hospital should also get an information that so and so patient is coming to you. So that by that app can be merged together, and ultimately, that lies in the hands of the nodal agency. They have to decide that which app should be universally applicable to everybody.
Right, right. So thank you. So in a way that you gave a thought process of that to develop certain ecosystem, because we have a lot of student community in this fora, and also a lot of teachers and also corporates who are sitting. This might be a business opportunity for them to take it forward, to make it a very good ecosystem in India. That's really good. So with this, I also have a question. Generally, when we go to hospitals for collection of a data, for example, when you wanted to go and check what are the facility that a trauma care has. Maybe in cities it might be easy, but in rural areas and other places, that we get a feedback that people in the hospitals are not friendly to give the information what they have, and they do not share much of the information. So this becomes too complex for the people who are working, be it a corporate, be it an NGO, be it any other agency, nodal agency who's having this kind of a problem. So do you really think that this is a problem can be solved, or is it a problem which is localized to the regions?
I think it's more localized. And I think once you have a nodal agency, all the data would be available there, and that would be able to answer the problem, whatever information you require.
See, actually, the data sharing is a very big problem in our country. You are not allowed to share your data. Every hospital has a medical record section. So whenever you have to share any data of how many patients coming to your hospital, how many are injured, how many got discharged, for how long they stayed in your hospital, and especially, when these cases are medical legal cases, you're not supposed to share that data with anyone. You need to take an ethical clearance for that, and you need to have a permission from the hospital agencies, from the record section, and then only you can share that data. But once it all comes under one nodal agency, then all that data can be shared with that nodal agency, and then that nodal agency can take care of that. What doctors or the hospitals are worried about their data is because we need to publish that data, and everybody has that is in that race of publishing that data, that who is publishing it first, whether I am publishing it first or any other hospital is publishing it first. So until unless that goes into a common pool wherein everybody has a stake on it, it will not be easy to share that data with anyone.
Yeah, that becomes. So this is mainly on the app, like on the intimation app. So what about vehicle manufacturers? Because I also see an automotive association sitting in this forum, and also the automotive component manufacturers sitting in the forum. So there are various questions popping up that how can an e-call such kind of a system can work for in India? Or is there any kind of an intimate post intimation through the vehicle technology itself can directly indicate to the emergency service like car to infrastructure communication, or through any other ITS solutions? I think A.K. Kapila sir has worked extensively on this particular topic. So in-vehicle safety technologies, specifically on the post-care and trauma section, do they work for India, or is there any adaptations that is required?
No, I don't think they really work for India, but my friends from the automobile industry would be in a better position to bring out. But there can certainly be, to my mind, some kind of an arrangement by which if you press a button, then wherever an accident has taken place, if that pressed, that indication of that place, its coordinates can be immediately flashed to the nearest police station as well as to the nearest medical facility. That kind of technology can be certainly introduced in the automobiles.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That's fine. Like, I think we are close to 5 now. I think we will take up a couple of two or three more round of questions, and then directly we'll go to the participant question and answers. So my another question to you all is like, there was a discussion, I think I brought in this topic since data is one of the favorite subject for all the students and also to me who's working together. So when we wanted to identify what is the exact value of a life in India, yeah. So any product, any system, any application, any new interventions which has to be brought for the country, any nodal agency or the committee will ask for the cost benefit ratio. With this, I've been struggling almost since 10 years to identify what is the cost or the value of one person's life in India, which is not available. Every conferences, we start with a statement that India loses 3% of GDP for a year on road accidents. And this 3% of GDP is a study done in 1980s or 3.5 decades back. Why there is no other attempt which was done to do this study? And we really have to cross verify whether this 3% is really true. Is it increased? It is reduced and things like that. So we went through various insurance records. We went through various medical records. We went through NCRB report, MORTH report, and many other reports. But we are not able to identify or formulate how can we attach a value for a human cost in India and which agency has to release this. So the point is like even the hospitals has to work, even the NGOs has to come together, and also the insurance agencies has come and join hands. So how do we do this? How to fix a value for a human life specific to India?
You see, the first study in this was done by the then Planning Commission. And we used to have Secretary Transport, who later became a member of the Supreme Court Committee also, South Indian gentleman, I'm missing his name at the moment. And he was the chairman of that group. And they had brought out early 90s that the loss was something like 54,000 crores. I would have a copy of that somewhere in my records.
Sure.
And thereafter, it has not been updated ever since. That was the initial work done. But then people have been correlating it, or one would say, doing some statistical analysis further. And that is how this 3% has continued to remain 3%, because there was no reduction in any case in the accident in India. They kept on increasing year by year, and so did the GDP kept increasing, and therefore the resultant ratio has remained almost the same. But I think if it is to be really done again, it would be a worthwhile exercise to see what really are the losses. But I would rather say that let us concentrate and take all the initiatives we need to take to reduce this 3%, because this is an enormous amount. And the latest study of 2020 on the global parameter shows something very, very, very different. It shows something like it's some $11 billion lost every single day on account of road accidents in the world. So this is what was presented in February at the Stockholm conference.
Declaration, right?
This was presented as a statistics. So if that is to be really, if that figure is right, then you can imagine what the world is losing on account of road accidents alone.
Correct. Yes, Dr. Sushma, you have some take on it?
Yeah, I think this is a very, I would say, very interesting and need of the hour, wherein this has to be studied and people need to take research on this. And I would say that really we have not never given any, I would say, importance or thought to it. And definitely it is a food for thought for us, because we are more worried about the treatment protocols and the training protocols, but the aftermath of this, which can have a lot of global and social impact, needs to be
Mhm.
understood and needs to be researched. Yeah.
Thank you. There's a lot of participants on this webinar who will be waiting to take up the topics and do furthermore researches with your support, because I know you have a Limca Records or book of doing maximum search, and you will definitely not have a time to even look at and think about the topic. But you are the valuable just with a lot of information which we can pull out and have a good amount of joining hands together and take up a couple of more cities which will definitely help for the nation going forward. So, and I think we are more or less at the end of the panel discussion. So, what I would like to ask you all is, like, we have signed a treaty in Global Decade of Action. I think in Brasilia Declaration, and also recently with the Stockholm Declaration, that we are going to stop reduce the fatalities by 50% in 2030. Yeah, 50 by 30 or 30. Yeah, 50 by 30. Previously, it was by 50 by 20, but we did not even reduce 1% as well. Yeah. So now it's the next decade, which has started from 2020, and we had a bang on with COVID. And then furthermore, we have to reduce the road fatalities and other accidents. So is India ready to reduce 50% of fatalities, specifically in a vertical of post-care and trauma center? Is the medical and emergency service system up and ready? Um, if it is ready, like, what are the salient points that we are unique in India, and what are the things which is ready, which we can reduce this for 50%?
You see, this will have to be all across the 5 pillars. The reduction of 50% by 2030 cannot be achieved just by the trauma care facilities added. You
Correct.
see, so what we need to do is that if the accidents have to reduce, then only the fatalities will reduce.
Right.
And to reduce the accidents, what we need to use is, we need to increase the use of ITS. We need to put more cameras. We need to put more tools on the roads, so that when someone doesn't follow the rule, he is immediately, his number of the vehicle is immediately captured, and he is sent an e-challan, as has happened during even during the Corona days in Delhi. You see, we unfortunately have a very unfortunate mindset. We don't follow rules. We tend to disobey rules, and also try to many times showcase that we are above the law. You know, that stupid aptitude of many people is responsible for non-reduction of accidents. You see, I can do anything and no, I'll not be caught. So that unless that approach and that psyche is changed, it is very difficult. So the only answer is provide extensive ITS, use it extensively in the country. And if you do that, I'm sure we'll be able to have less traffic violations, and that would help to save lives. Also, as we develop the smart cities in the coming decade, we must ensure that whatever new road systems we are creating within those towns, they have a separate cycle track, so that the cyclist doesn't work and move with the other vehicles. So, you know, those are the kind of steps which we will have to take. And then we will have to try and build in the education system. The road safety, we have prepared chapters which have unfortunately remained only in a couple of states. But if the road safety books, whatever subject you are teaching, if that also helps to teach road safety, supposing you are teaching English. Now, while you are teaching the language, if you're also teaching road safety by introducing it in poems, by introducing it, by having essays done on it. You know, there are various things which we have done in the textbooks itself. So if those can be replicated and used across the states, we'll find a generation coming up much better, much more sensitive to obedience of road rules. And that is what will help, because a child, if he tells his father, don't jump the signal, certainly has an effect much more than anybody else telling him.
Correct, sir.
So
Agreed.
that's what we need to do. We need to do such things more and more. Now, if a bus driver, this was tried in Andhra, what they did was they put on the photograph of the family on the dashboard. Every driver was supposed to put photograph of his own family on the dashboard. And that helped reduce accidents in Andhra Pradesh bus service, bus transport. Simple things, you know, but it has a psychological effect on the driver that he has to be careful. So there are very many things which need to be done. And if we take those small steps, just as I said, we need to train the heavy motor vehicle drivers with the trauma care. So whenever an accident takes place, he is able to help. Besides that, he is also able to become a more sensitive driver, because he is supposed to help an accident victim. So he would not like to be a cause of accident. So like that, a lot of things will have to be done. And then, yes, we will be able to reduce 50%, maybe even more.
Perfect. That's really great. Dr. Sushma, your thought process on this topic.
See, if we say that, definitely over last 5-10 years, many things have changed, and we have definitely improved. If we talk about the 5 E's, you know, we always talk about the 5 E's when we talk about the road safety. It is the engineering of the roads. Our roads have definitely improved what they were, I would say, 10 years back. Today, when we have a lot of vehicles moving on the roads are also breaking very, in a shorter period of time, but the repair of the roads, the new highways coming up, and the new roads with better material are coming up. So the engineering of the roads have improved. When we talk about the vehicles, definitely the vehicles have improved. We have many, I would say, inbuilt systems in our vehicles, wherein if we are not putting the seat belts, we'll get an alarm. Or if our doors are not working properly, if all the 4 doors are not closing properly, we'll get an alarm. So our definitely there is an betterment of the engineering part of our vehicles. Third is the education. Definitely through the media and other places, the education is improving. Many and more protocols are coming up. The chapters have been added into our school curriculum, in the college curriculum. There are departments which are taking road safety as a subject. And then when we talk about the doctors also, there is a program called Advanced Trauma Life Support Program. This program came in 2009. And since then, we have conducted more than 500 courses all over India. Earlier, we had started it from JPN Trauma Center, Delhi. But now more than 20 centers in the country are there which are running these trauma life support program for the doctors, wherein the doctors are getting trained in treating the trauma patients. And apart from that, like Mr. Kapila has said, that ministry has released a bystander program. There is a first responder program wherein we are teaching the college students and the school students. Last point is the enforcement of the law. We have a new Motor Vehicle Act, wherein that Motor Vehicle Act, you have more compensation to be paid for everything. You have more charges. अगर आपने सड़क क्रॉस किया, हेलमेट नहीं लगाया, तो कहाँ पहले आपको अगर 100 रुपए देने पड़ते थे, तो आपको 1000 रुपए, 5000 रुपए. So अगर आप का रोड बिहेवियर चेंज नहीं होता है, तो law is forcing you to change your behavior. And then the emergency care system, definitely a lot of changes have occurred. The highways that 500 kilometer पे आपको एक trauma vehicle मिलेगा. You have small centers. Every hospital mandatorily have a trauma unit. All the AIIMS-like institute which are coming up in the country have a dedicated trauma unit. So definitely, if not 50%, but some amount of decrease has occurred and some systems have been built up.
Thank you. So very glad to know that so many systems already exist, because even I was not aware of so many systems availability of the trauma care specifically to India. So I'm just picking up a couple of questions from the chat box and just throwing it out. As you all emphasized on the use of applications, apps through smartphones, and a couple of participants clearly asked, there is only 24% of the population in India have access to smartphones, and nearly 20% of them have the internet access. How do you ensure that bystanders is going to use these apps and then put him help to build the ecosystem?
You see, as I said, two things will be there. One is that I'm sure someone around will have an application, a smartphone which will be able to indicate the GPS location. But that can also be done by the vehicle itself, because we can have a system in which each vehicle will have a GPS, and that will be able to, when you are intimating the hospital and the police station where the accident has taken place, that vehicle itself, when it collides, will be able to convey that information. So if we can provide that into the vehicular system itself, so that will be able to give the place. But other than that, I'm sure on the wayside we have people, at least if there are 20 people, at least 1 or 2 of them would have a smartphone and who can then convey what needs to be conveyed. So it's not that, it is true that the number is less, but it is not such that it is 20% is not a very small number.
Correct.
Bystanders, I'm sure you will find someone of them who would have it.
Thank you. And Dr. Sushma, do you want to add something?
No, I think whatever I want to say is already told.
Okay, there's another point which raised here, that you told that truck and bus drivers and the heavy vehicle operators, or even the drivers, has to be trained for the
first aid trauma
center. Do you think the truck driver who is carrying the load and running and racing with the time to deliver the goods will stop and help the victim on the road? Is it practically possible for India?
It is certainly possible, and it is again the mindset. And if there is a law which warrants him to do that, he will do it. Okay. And if he ignores it, he can be penalized for it. You see, truck drivers themselves will not like to disobey it. It is the truck owners who want them to reach the other destination in a particular span of time. But that can be overcome by the legislative arrangement that first the life is to be saved, then the time.
Okay.
Yeah, see, the training is one aspect which is very important. Their behavioral aspect has to be changed. Third thing, which recently I was talking to the transport minister of Himachal Pradesh, and what he told me was that they had assigned the duty hours to the truck drivers. Like in their state, if someone is driving a truck or a heavy vehicle for more than say 12 hours, then he will not, his license will be suspended. So that kind of protocol they had started in their state, and they said that by implementing those kind of rules, they had reduced down on the number of accidents occurring. So sleep deprivation is one big aspect which is found in these people, which is causing the accident. So these kind of small changes, taking care of their mid break points wherein they are staying, making them have a good wash, making them have good sleep, making them have eatables during their long journeys. So those kind of small measures, definitely can improve the behavior pattern of these truck drivers.
Oh, that's the right point. I think we have to take care of the drivers who are transferring so much of goods from one place to other place and helping us to move the whole country in the supply chain system. So generally, a thought process, generally Indian roads are safe. Indian technologies are safe. So in the last 6 to 7 episodes, we were been discussing about what are the different technologies that have. We have airbags, we have ABS, we have electronic stability control. We have a lot of technologies in place. We also have an excellent infrastructure systems. We have excellent infrastructure systems which is available in our systems. And but we got an interesting comment here. Indian roads are safe. Indian technologies, Indian safety technology is safe, and but Indian people are not, because they are not trained. And education should be there for emergency care and knowledge system. And we also see this in the Ministry of Road Transport data set, that the root cause of accident is 78% is a human cause. Yeah, 78% is human cause. So like nobody who's gonna take the vehicle out will think that I just want to do this particular mistake, but it is a mistake, but it is attributed to 78%, which is like 8 out of 10 is mainly caused by human, right? So is there a way to change this number to a different entity? Is there any steps that we can take to change this 80% of human error to something else, thereby reducing the accidents?
See that human behavior, human mind has to change. हमारे साथ, you know, like अगर हम दिल्ली में गाड़ी चला रहे होंगे, हमने सीट बेल्ट पहना होगा. The moment we cross the Delhi border and entering the UP border, सीट बेल्ट खोल देंगे, because हमें लगता है कि अब हमारा कोई चालान नहीं होगा, nobody is going to catch us. बाइक पे whenever we are going out on the roads, we will put the helmet. But अगर हमें आपको दूध लेने जाना होगा, सब्जी लेने जाना होगा, we will not put the helmet. And कितना भी हम किसी को समझाएं कि no, it is for your head safety. Like my newspaper wala, he comes every day on a bike, and I always tell him कि भाई तुम newspaper बांटते हो कॉलोनी में, helmet क्यों नहीं लगाते हो? तो वो बोलता है डॉक्टर साहब अरे कॉलोनी में ही तो जा रहे हैं, कॉलोनी में क्या फर्क पड़ता है? But he doesn't realize that he can have a fall in the colony also, and he will break his head in the colony. So those kind of you know, basic awareness is not there. People, you know, who are pillion riders, they would not like to wear the helmet. बड़ी मुश्किलों के बाद से पिलियन राइडर में विमेन के लिए वो लॉ एनफोर्समेंट आया है. एंड व्हेन वी सी इन आवर हॉस्पिटल की छोटी छोटी बातों की वजह से लोगों के एक्सीडेंट हो जाते हैं कि उन्होंने या तो सीट बेल्ट नहीं लगाया होता है, या फिर वो बोलते हैं हम कॉलोनी के अंदर चला रहे थे, या हम पास में ही गए थे, या हमें थोड़ी दूर के लिए जाना था. सो दोज काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स, यू नो, दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड. हम बोलते हैं कि जैसे हवाई जहाज चलाने से पहले पायलट, देयर इज अ कंप्लीट चेकलिस्ट कि वो हर चेकलिस्ट के हिसाब से अपने व्हीकल को चेक करता है, अपने आप को चेक करता है, अपनी फिटनेस को चेक करता है. सिमिलरली एवरी टाइम यू आर राइडिंग अ व्हीकल, चाहे वो साइकिल है, चाहे वो बाइक है, चाहे वो कार है या ट्रक है, आपको पूरी तरह से पहले अपने आप को देखना है क्या आप उसको चलाने के लिए तैयार हैं, और दूसरा क्या आपका व्हीकल पूरी तरह से तैयार है रोड पे जाने के लिए. यू नो, रोड की डिजाइनिंग और रोड की इंजीनियरिंग तो थर्ड पार्ट है, बट लेट अस चेक फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड पार्ट.
So the human behavior is the most important factor for saving lives. Definitely. Absolutely right. So there's another question. How about the role of hospitals that refuses to give treatment to the accident victim, even after the bystanders take the victim to the hospital in time? How this behavior can be changed? Is this behavior seen in hospitals even today? At least this has been seen in many of the rural part of it. So how this can be changed from the hospital front?
This is really very unfortunate if any hospital is refusing any accident victim to admit, whether it is a medical legal case or not a medical legal case. And again, you know, that has to be from the top level, from the government level, that anybody who's denying the access or the treatment, they should be punished. Like during the corona time, they have taken very stringent action against the hospitals who are refusing it. So similar kind of an action has to be required for the road traffic victims also. And people need to report it also. That is also very important.
Okay. The person who posted this question, please report it to the nearest center if it's been rejected or for the rescue. So what is the current rescue mechanism in India? Is it unique across India? Who is the first responder? We all have a doubt. Is it a EMS? Is it a police? Or is it the rescue teams? Or is it a bystanders? Who is the who has to rescue person? Who is the first responder?
See, we receive about 70,000 patients to our trauma center in a year. 70,000 मरीज हमारे यहाँ लगभग आते हैं. And every day we keep a record कि patient को लेके कौन आया है, क्या उसको पुलिस लेके आई है, रिश्तेदार लेके आए हैं, एम्बुलेंस लेके आई है, कैट्स लेके आई है. So what our data has been consistently showing is that it is majorly the relatives and the bystanders who bring in the patient. They are number
Okay.
one. And number two, in Delhi, it is the police. Police has been very responsive in Delhi, and the majority of the patients who are lying on the roads, who get suffered on the roads, are brought by the police. And number three comes the CATS ambulances and the private ambulances. So majorly it is the relatives and the bystanders who bring the patients.
Okay. It is also seen in many of the rural part of India that the emergency response is not properly available, and if it is brought within the golden hour, also no treatment is given for a prolonged period. But on the other hand, in contrary, cities has a much higher facility and a good facility where they'll be able to rescue the person who is a victim from an accident within a short span of time. Is this true? Why this is a disparity between a rural and urban?
See, this is true because, geographically also we are living in very different areas. Supposedly somebody has got an accident in Haldwani or in Uttarakhand, then it is so difficult even for a non-accident victim to reach to the proper hospital. उसको proper हल्द्वानी तक आने में या proper ऋषिकेश तक आने में या रानीखेत तक आने में, जो थोड़े से बड़े शहर हैं, नॉर्मल सर्कमस्टांसेस में ही उसको इतना टाइम लग जाता है. और अगर वो एक्सीडेंट विक्टिम है तो हो सकता है वो साइकिल पे ना आ पाए, बाईसाइकिल पे ना आ सके, उसको एक गाड़ी की जरूरत है, तो उस समय ट्रांसपोर्टेशन और भी डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है. या कोई गाड़ी अगर गड्ढे में गिर गई है, खाई में गिर गई है या किसी नाले में गिर गई है, तो वहां से निकालना, उस निकालने के अलावा पेशेंट को उस गाड़ी में से एक्सट्रिकेट करना, so they all take a very lot of burden on the system. So geographically also we have various kind of situations wherein our people are falling. और रूरल एरियाज में भी अगर प्लेन्स हैं तो फिर भी हो सकता है कि पेशेंट कैन रीच टू द हॉस्पिटल अर्ली, बट इन द हिली एरियाज, इन द वाटरी एरियाज, इट इज डिफिकल्ट फॉर देम टू. बहुत सारी जगहों पे बोट से ही ट्रांसपोर्टेशन होता है, बोट से लोग एक जगह से दूसरी जगह जा रहे हैं, तो ऐसे में चोट लगे वाले व्यक्ति को बोट से ट्रांसपोर्ट करना, अगेन इट बिकम्स डिफिकल्ट. नाइट आवर्स हैं, डे आवर्स हैं, दैट आल्सो टेक्स अ टॉल. रात में आपको कोई व्हीकल नहीं मिलेगा, दिन में आपको फिर भी व्हीकल मिल जाएगा. So these are certain situations which are for our country, because it's a huge country with I would say geographical and physically we are very much variegated.
So thank you very much. I think we are coming to the flag end. I'm still getting a lot of questionings which is popping up. As usual, I say that we will answer all the questions through IRSC channels. But today, the gist of the question, like the discussion went really well. And like we got so much of information from the versatile, experienced panelist with us today. So the gist of all the discussions, what I clearly foresee is that India is ready for the emergency and post-care trauma centers and other things, and we are very much ready for the 5th E, which we are currently working, the emergency. But there are a lot of things which has to be done from the panelists who clearly gave us the insights of creating a nodal agency for all the emergency and trauma care, who has to control this either from the hospital front or from the Ministry of the Health. There should be a very good registry which has to record all the possible things which has to be brought in to the records, so that this will be made of much user for the further reduction of accidents and also saving life. There should be a proper giving a knowledge about Good Samaritan law, and also giving an kind of an education to all the school children, to all the corporates, to all the bystanders. Bystander training and also capacity building is also one of the prime importance in India. Giving a first aid response to the people who are working in the direction towards road safety is also another aspect which was brought in. And also heavy fleet operators like truck owners, bus owners, to give them a compulsory first aid response training for them, and making them to abide by law by helping a Good Samaritan rule specifically in order to bring the victims to the nearest hospital centers. Technology definitely can play a role, as we all say that e-calls, GPS locations, infrastructures, many other ITS, intelligent transport systems, will definitely bring in the emergency and trauma care system to the quick progress in order to save life. So all these things we are trying to do in order to save life for just a fraction more safety, which I generally tell, to bring in this golden hour like much shorter, so that we save many lives. I think we got very, very good insights and also a thought process and also the directions with which we can work on this particular topic. And lot of internship topics, lot of projects which can be built on, lot of business models and cases which can be built on the topics which has been discussed by Dr. Kapila and also Dr. Sushma on this particular topic. It's really good. So with this, I would like to take the final points, takeaways from KK Kapila sir and also from Dr. Sushma ma'am. What are the three things that you look forward specifically? We talk only about specific emergency today, emergency, expediting emergency and trauma care for India. Three things which we have to do. I know you have shared a lot of things with priority, three things which we can do to reduce 50% of the fatalities by 2030, where we can join hands in the global declaration by 10 years, say that India really achieved it by various means in its own unique way. So anybody can take up this point.
So first thing is that we have to understand that accident do not spare anyone. So today it is him, tomorrow it can be me. जब तक हमारे दिल में ये ख्याल नहीं आएगा कि आज किसी और को जरूरत है मदद की, कल हमें भी जरूरत पड़ सकती है. If we have the same notion in our mind, we would abide by the rules. We will take care of our hospital and the infrastructure, and we will change our behavior. So that is most important.
Thank you. Kapila sir, do you have some thoughts? Hello? Okay, I think we lost Kapila sir. Possibly we will also take his in points and then we'll take up. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us, and also thanks all the participants. We touched close to 250 participants today on this webinar with various spectrum of people. That too on a Sunday evening, having all the people together on this board was really a great thing for us. So with this, I would like to close my final webinar hosting series. I started my journey of first panel discussion with KK Kapila sir, and this webinar series I will be hosting for the last, and then we will take up the final webinar by next Friday. I think IRSC will communicate to you all on this. Thank you for staying with me for 8 weeks and 8